Hello. Hello. That's the most sort of clickbait headline you could possibly have. The death of advertising, British original, cheat codes, all the above. I'm actually going to talk for an hour and a half about how AI is going to steal all your jobs. I'm not, look, I hate these when people just wang on all the time, so thanks very much for coming. I really wanted, I guess, to unlock some stuff that might be useful. I looked at the list of people coming, and the majority of you founded brands, work at brands, and all that sort of stuff, and I thought this might be super interesting, because usually the people I speak to are creatives. So I've whacked in here some cheat codes for unlocking what we call reference point creativity. My name's Nils, by the way. I'm a founder, one of the founders of a company called Uncommon Creative Studio. Started the company about 7 years ago with Natalie and Lucy. We're the only majority female-founded startup of our size in Europe. Before I get into it, so I don't wang on for hours about us, I'm just going to play you a quick film.
Hello and welcome to Uncommon in 180 seconds. Uncommon is a creative studio, founded in 2017, creating brands, film, images, technology, and experiences that the world wishes existed. Uncommon was created in a time of crisis and opportunity. A world where 75% of brands could disappear and no one would care. A world that wants a different relationship with the brands and products, and a world paying money to skip the advertising industry. In this world, we believe that creativity, business, and brands can make a difference like never before. These brands are uncommon. The brands we work with tend to come to us in a moment of change, seeing themselves not just in a category, but in the world. Fueling a passion, fixing a problem, often creating acts, advertising, but always fame.
Human-made global journey.
H&M wanted to engage with men in the US and UK, so in a recession-hit economy, we created the 1 Second Suit, an innovative retail concept renting a bespoke design suit to anyone with a job interview for free for 24 hours.
You were born fabulous.
The 1 Second Suit reached over 26 million people in 24 hours, earning global coverage.
Great idea.
The suits were fully subscribed within 24 hours. British Airways came to us for a new global brand positioning that would work across the entire BA experience. A British original was born. An idea reflecting their innovation and the unique power of their people.
Yes.
Highlighting the points of difference in their service, partnerships, and experiences, and most importantly, an idea celebrating what makes each and every one of their passengers special. The campaign saw a record-breaking multi-market launch with over 500 individual executions, playing out all of the reasons we travel. Since the campaign launch, BA has experienced its best ever revenue period. Nike Jordan came to us asking the question, what comes after Michael? We redefined Jordan for the next era, for new audiences, to mean something beyond the man himself.
So good.
United in self-belief, we created the brand platform Beyond, an invitation to soar, beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond those who've come before. We launched this platform during the 23 NBA All-Star Weekend in a viral film seeing through the eyes of an aspiring female baller. EA Sports approached Uncommon, having parted ways with FIFA, to create and launch the new brand FC, the biggest sports game on the planet. We designed a new brand identity, logo, and vision, drawing on an icon that had been hiding in plain sight for 20 years, the control triangle. FC made its bold debut at more than 100 matches across the biggest leagues in the world and in the hands of influencers, sporting heroes, and fans to mark the moment, and the new brand and mark were trending globally within 4 hours of launch. Google, Pinterest, Beats by Dre, the Olympics, and a spread of innovative startups all remain clients of the studio. Now 6 years old, with bureau in the US and Europe, Uncommon partner globally with some of the world's most influential companies across brand, advertising, the CX, and design. This was Uncommon in 180 seconds, and we're done.
Right, there we go. Blah. That's enough of that. Look, there's a lot of stuff talked at festivals like this. Innovation, disruptive thinking, radical ideation, thinking outside the norm, otherwise known as creativity. I think we love a bullshit buzzword, and maybe we should use a little bit less of them. I'd love, though, to unpack some stuff I think mostly pushed by creatives about creativity. I think we are the worst at talking a load of shit about it. And I would like to unpack some of the stuff that I think has got us into hot water around how we refer to creativity and what we all think it is. The first is that it's a craft, that it's some sort of thing we do where we retreat to an office and we're like, I'm going to go and be creative now. You know, and we have to have a beanbag and some really expensive coffee. I think that's nonsense. The second, of course, is it's a haircut or a neck tattoo. It does so happen that a lot of us have those, but also that's not it. Here's the biggest lie of creativity, I think, and there's lots of this talked at festivals like this, is that you have to be brave to think differently to be creative. This idea of bravery and fear, they come into it a lot. I said to my wife that I was going to talk once at a festival about creative bravery, and she said, "Fuck off, Leonard. Firemen get to talk about bravery. You don't get to talk about it. You sell cheese." Pretty harsh, but kind of fair. The truth is, I think that actually creativity at its best is a survival mechanic. This is really what I think it's about, right? At its best, it's what you do when you're in trouble, what you do when you're faced with threat, what you do when you're frustrated. These are the more radical forms of creativity. Truthfully, it's what we do when we're in the shit. Think of any time you've been caught doing something bad. Think about the stuff that pops into your head. Your body's amazing at doing this. It'd be like, oh, I wasn't there, I was helping nuns, or I was doing something amazing. It's your reaction to basically being in trouble, and it's when we're at our best, I think. This, which is a very extreme example, the person that first discovered that when somebody was choking, that they could get the inside out of a pen, lean down and go into their neck, create an airway, that is insane. They were faced with mortality, they were faced with all this other stuff. That's a mad example, isn't it? But you get it, right? That's the most radical thing. You would never normally do that in a normal day. You'd never normally go, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, just create an airway. Closer to home, this will start to hopefully make some sense. Spotify, right? They were born because record labels were charging us £12 a go, taking a CD for that £12, taking all the money, the artists were getting screwed. Spotify were like, no, we're not going to have that. They were a response to that. The music industry was ripping everyone off, so Spotify. Renting property used to be rank and unsafe, didn't it? You know, in a minefield, so Airbnb were born. Local taxis were disgusting, so Uber were born. Big banks were pissing everybody off, so Monzo were born. And cable TV was drip-feeding content like a crack dealer. Do you remember having to wait for a show? Yeah. And so, look, there's a cheat code here, which is, what are you more afraid of? And I think this is interesting. Anytime you're faced with what might be seen as a risky or creative decision, ask yourself what you're more afraid of. Are you more afraid of what will happen if you do it, or what will happen if you do nothing? And this is a conversation we share with many of our client partners, but really, a lot of the people that come to Uncommon come in a moment of change. You know, so they come for a bit of this, and this is important to recognize, because it's very easy to talk about all this, but maybe not do it. I've always loved this from Virginia Woolf: you cannot find peace by avoiding life. You know, and actually it can seem like we exist in this category. We actually think by not avoiding life, you actually get to make great work because you're making work in the world. Whenever we see a client or anybody, we show them this quote. Some of you might be familiar with it, some might not. It's from Death of a Salesman. They're all sat around like they don't care, and he goes, "I'm not interested in stories about the past or any crap of that kind because the woods are burning." And he wants them all to be threatened by these woods burning. He wants them all to change and to act and to do something. And it struck us as a great quote because almost everyone we speak to has a version of the woods burning in their world. You know, every one of us in every category we're in, not just, you know, sustainably, politically, ethically, morally, in our sales, in our revenue, in our makeup, in our business. There's always a woods burning. A little closer to home, and we call this the good news chart, people wouldn't care if 3/4 of brands disappeared tomorrow. So 3/4 of brands could disappear from our shelves, from our phones, guys, and no one would give a shit. In the middle, IKEA's head of sustainability has said we've reached peak stuff. That's the idea that we're full. For the first time in the West, we don't want more things. We want a different relationship with the brands and products in our lives. And then lastly, on our side of the fence, people are paying money to avoid what we spend our lives making. Name another industry people pay money to avoid. It's kind of mad. This isn't actually the massively bad news chart. The point of all of this is if you imagine you're making work in the world, not in your category, you might make work that's slightly more important. I'm going to show you this. This is a bit weird. This is the first piece of work Uncommon made. It's for an energy brand called OVO. They came and they said, look, at that time, everyone was selling energy. It was all lens flares and happy people, and it was like, you know, warm up your house. And we realized that actually energy and the way we buy energy could be a part of the climate crisis, could be a part of the conversation around the world. At that point, Trump had just pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement, and so we made this.
Climate change. Global warming is not happening.
There is no
Therefore,
such thing as climate change.
There were evidence for the UK. Where is your evidence of global warming?
They are pulling out of the historic agreement.
I want you to protest, I don't want you to ride, I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
That was like an ad for Uncommon as much as it was for Ovo being candid, right? It had Get Mad on it, Slayer. I mean, anyone who knows us knows we love a bit of metal. But the point is, we made it in the world. We followed it up very quickly with this. Kind of pertinent now. Yeah, you get it. Bit much. The point is, you don't exist in a category, you exist in the world. And I think too many of us get obsessed with selling slightly more or responding to someone else's activation or beating someone else slightly. And if we all actually imagined, which is true, that the thing we're going to make lives in the world, we might make better things. It might place a different pressure on us. Often we talk a lot about this. It can be tempting as well for people to go, well, you can only make a massive difference or do something brilliant creatively if you're, if you're small, if you're agile, if you're nimble, if you're punky. One way of looking at it, though, is that your scale could just mean you take on a much bigger enemy. So the bigger your company is, the bigger your brand is, the bigger the enemy it can take on. One example we had was something called the 1 Second Suit for H&M, which I'm actually not going to play you, you'll have all seen. But H&M are a massive retailer, they make loads of clothes. How might we reuse those clothes in a way that's powerful? Well, I'll tell you what if we gave somebody with a job interview a suit for free for 24 hours? Creating a whole retail scheme around it. That was a really interesting way to take on unemployment at that point and all sorts of other stuff. It's an interesting analogy. So the bigger the company, the bigger the fight. That can be an interesting thing. Whether you agree, and I'm sure there's loads of AI talks at this thing, so I'm actually not going to wang on about that for ages, but whether you agree or not with my principles, I used to have to try and convince people AI now is coming, and it's coming for low-cost, unimaginative, deeply average content, and it's just going to do all of that. So whether you agree with me or not, it's kind of irrelevant. But what AI won't ever do, I believe, and what AI is missing at the moment, is AI will never suffer a soul-rending loss. It will never get caught stealing as a child, win a car park fight that defines them, or rebound from cheek-burning embarrassment to write a heartbreaking work of staggering beauty. It won't. It can't fuck up, really. I mean, we know it can give you 7 fingers, but other than that, it can't suffer stuff that humans can. It can't win like a human can. It can't break like a human can. And these things, I think, are where you find the special sauce in what we do. And imagine that all you offered when you talked about creativity was that top bit. That would be amazing. I'd argue some of the work we've made for British Airways, we wouldn't have got to these lines if we wanged them in an AI generator. There's no way you possibly could. All the reasons you go on holiday, all the reasons you might escape, all the reasons you might actually get on a plane. I mean, Christ, when you stop and just think about what you would write, it's an amazing task, right? We did an exercise with a couple of people. I won't say who, and it's amazing what comes out. You'd be surprised. It's like a form of therapy. Someone, we gave everyone a bit of paper. It was like business, leisure. Someone wrote affairs. We were like, okay, shit. But really, the moment we saw this, we realized there was room inside this idea for people and for humanity and for that type of writing. Imagine every one of these was the first line of a book. That's an amazing thing to have made with our partners. And actually that for us was really a lesson, which is unless we create like this, unless we create at the highest level, I guess our view is you may as well give up. You may as well walk away. Here's another story that our industry is littered with. How many of you here, have been on either side of the fence where someone was like, and then after 9 months, they finally said yes. The people we've been asking got it, and they said yes, and we were allowed to make it. A couple of creatives from a previous life of mine made a product called Life Paint for Volvo. How many of you have seen that? A few of you have seen that probably? Yeah, okay. They were at Cannes, they won loads of Grand Prix, it was amazing, and they were like, oh, after 9 months they said yes, and I was like, shit, that sank in, and I was like, that's not very cool. How did it take us 9 months begging and pleading to go and make probably the best bit of work that company had ever made? And then it dawned on me, throughout our industry, not just agency and client, in client structures, in brands, in big brands, how many of us are dependent on people less ambitious than us to make our dreams come true? Think about that. Like how many times are we there burning and caring and loving and all that stuff, working 13-hour days, to go and ask somebody who frankly just doesn't care as much as you for permission to do your best work? And I kind of think that's not it. Dave Hyatt said brilliantly, whether it's someone else saying no, often we can say no. the lies we tell our ideas. It's not the right time. I'll never get it funded. I don't have enough experience. Everyone's smarter than me. There'll always be a reason. It's your body saying, this is new. There'll always be a reason to not do something. But doing something, I promise, always pays back. There isn't a single piece of work Uncommon's made, the stuff we've made with our clients, the stuff we made without, that hasn't been additive for the studio. So never wait for someone else to bring the energy. Never wait for someone else to have a good idea. Never wait for someone to give you permission. We have a phrase, later means never, which is actually, guys, you've all heard that before. We loved it. We loved it. We're just going to do that one later. We'll do that one next Q4. Just never going to happen, man. Get around it. So we make a load of stuff. You might have seen some of these, some boots with rats in. More importantly, the big gay donation, or recently on landmarks where we reimagined UK landmarks as if they'd been developed by developers. You know, all this stuff's the stuff we care about. We could have done this with clients. We just didn't. It's important. So do this with or without them. And when I say them, I don't just mean clients. I mean your boss. I mean approval. I mean anybody you're dependent on to make. Find a way to do it. Almost there. 4 minutes left before some other brilliant stuff. The truth is, when you make stuff like this, I know all these festivals and all these conversations, everyone will assume that everyone loves it when you do this. Everyone's like, oh, this is amazing. They're just going at it. People don't, actually. They don't like it. They don't get it. It's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's controversial. And there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people that don't come with you. Now, I don't know about you. As a creative, I'm really needy. I've got a couple of people here who might agree with that. And I think we all are. I think we all want to please. We all want to be seen. We all want to matter, right? But the truth is, some people just won't like what you do. And you have to remember at that point, don't waste time explaining. Bees don't waste time explaining to flies that honey's better than shit. It's true, you can't bring everybody with you. And if you believe in what you believe in and you know what the win is, sometimes you're going to have to do that for everyone else to see what you mean. It's just a fact. So collect controversy. If you don't believe I really mean this, I really do, I'm just going to show you one thing we made for Habito. We discovered that getting a mortgage can actually seriously damage your sex life. So we thought, what a brilliant thing to do to make an erotic bestseller for Habito. It came to number 3 in the Amazon chart. More importantly, guys, we collected this. The story of a male partner having phone sex whilst he's in his crane is disturbing because cranes are dangerous things. Would you want to work in a crane that had been decorated with his ejaculate? No. Look, obviously, it was a fictional book written by a guy called Rocky Flintstone about a fake bit of sex that happens in a crane. It's not real. But however, stuff like this becomes fuel. Collect controversy. Don't worry about it. Make it like a scalp. Take it and use it as a win. Think of it like this, please. The world wants to know how much you want it. I really believe this after 7 years at Uncommon and almost 20 in this industry or something. The world's going to lay distraction in front of you, failure, fatigue, cynics, all the above. It's like, I don't know why it works that way, it just does. The world wants to know how much you want it. Whether that's a new idea, a new company, anything. Do all of it, though, because you're going to leave things better than you found them. This is a fact. Do all of it because creativity and emotion will make your business more successful. That's a fact, I promise. Do all of it because it will make you a better employer. You know, everything we've done starts with what potential employees might think about Uncommon. That's where we always start with. And do all of it because at this point you might make something that outlives you. That's the truth of it. We use a word a lot at Uncommon, which is to create a reference point, you know, to matter classically, to be around for bigger than a hypey weekend. And that's really what we're trying to make, and that's, I think, the best work in the world makes. Really, I'm asking you to care. I'm just going to show you this. It's from a film called Network from the 60s.
Q Howard. I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad.
Yeah, okay, chill out. But you get it. He's got the same stuff. You could have written that now. It's bonkers, right? But actually, the first step is just to feel it, to see yourself in it. A lot of people talk about this. What's the brand's purpose? I'd much rather talk about yours. Everything brilliant we've made or we've made with someone has been a matter of personal ambition, not a matter of some professional one. And that's the biggest point. Print the posters you wish you could steal, shoot the films you wish you could watch, create the brands you wish existed, make the industry you wish you worked in, make the moment you wish you lived in. That's really what we think it's all about. Lastly, people worry a lot about career. What if I do this? Will it be bad for my career? I'm going to read you this from Noel Gallagher. I guarantee you this, the Stone Roses never mentioned career in any band meetings ever, or Primal Scream or The Verve. Oasis certainly never mentioned it. I bet it's mentioned a lot by managers and agents now. Don't do that, it's bad for your career. What? Fuck off. Like when we went to the Brits and we won all those awards and we didn't play, the head of the Brits said, this will ruin your career. Fucking wow, I said to the guy, do you know how high I am? You know it's going to ruin my career. Me, not you, Belen. More champagne, fuck off. That's me, goodbye.